Hi, we are on the record. Today is Monday, June 4th, and this is the Complaint Committee. Today, as part of the committee, we have Ms. Becky Russell and Ms. Amy Tankley, the two board members with us, and I will turn it over to Pamela Spicer, legal counsel for the litigating cases.
Good morning. How's everyone today? Good. We can start on the legal report. I don't have anything specific that I need to discuss this month. But I'm happy to take questions if you all have any.
Were there anything you wanted to go over on the represents? The others were very straightforward in terms of all the unlicensed activity.
I do want to probably talk a minute about number 49. This is simply an issue where I will not be able to go forward on the other cases that are in litigation if we do not consider a reduction of the civil penalty. I must have this respondent's cooperation in order to go forward. So I've done some pre-negotiation with this individual. Obviously significantly less civil penalty, but I need that in order to go forward on the other cases. That was the only one that really stood out. Ms. Bridges has...
How many other cases is that affiliated with? Quite a few?
I only have 2 left. At once I can resolve this particular case. 2 or 3, but definitely not more than 3 that have to be resolved. And I would need her testimony in order to go forward on those others.
Got it.
And then other than that, I don't have anything on the represents. We have to be consistent. We have, when the shop is closed, been closing those cases that are in litigation because I couldn't go forward. And then the only other represent would be 50, 51, and 52. Those are Kelsey Bridges cases, and it's my understanding, based on her update, that because there's been a voluntary license revocation and the shops are now closed, we're now requesting that those be closed and flagged.
Question for you on the shops that have complaints against them and then they close. Are we also flagging the individuals affiliated with those so that they're just not turning around and opening up a new shop with all the same problems?
We're flagging the shops that are closed. I think in order to flag the individual, we would have to have a complaint against the individual. And maybe we don't have a complaint. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a way to...
Gotcha.
There wouldn't be any action to take if I didn't otherwise have an open complaint. I'm sure if we have a complaint and we're closing those because the shop's closed, if the individual also has a complaint, then we would close and flag. But sometimes if it's the shop and
the actual business
owner,
entity,
right,
that
would be the only
closes with the shop closure.
Correct.
And doesn't follow anyone else affiliated with that. Until a new shop would have the same problems.
Correct.
Potentially. I don't want to make a statement.
I mean,
on that,
unless I had a complaint open against, say, the owner. And sometimes I do. So that would also be closed and flagged. But if I don't, there wouldn't be a way to close and flag it. There's nothing.
I just noticed there were several where the shops were now closed and therefore everything was closed and we move on. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Amy, what I can add to that is in the office, the change of ownership is what we see then to that location. It'll come in several months later, and we make sure that the ownership, to the best that we can, is different ownership for the complaints.
Gotcha.
That helps.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a bit of uptick in unlicensed activity this month as compared to previous months, and I know that's because it's been busy season for all things beauty. Just want to make sure that we're tracking that. Thank you. I appreciate for all your work.
So on the one that we were discussing, I believe it's number 49, you all are in agreement to allow me to go forward with what I need to do, secure her testimony and reduce the civil penalty accordingly, based on the recommendation.
Yes. Quite a large decrease, but if it gets you what you need to move forward, then.
And it is my understanding that that legal did assume that at some point we would probably have to make this type of negotiation.
Of course.
But with the $34,000 hanging over this respondent's head, that was obviously very helpful in order to secure her testimony.
Sounds good. Hopefully we can put that behind us.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's all we had. Either of you had anything else? Okay. We will then be done with the legal committee and start our meeting at 10 o'clock. We're going to have 2 board members at least calling in. So you're free until then, and we'll come back a few minutes before and we'll get started. Thank you. Thank you, Betty.
This really quick.
Thank you. And I don't have any other emails, so it's a matter of.
Are you ready, Roxana?
Yes, we are ready. Good morning. Let me go ahead and start here. Today is Monday, June the 4th. We are starting the meeting at 10:05. This is the Cosmetology and Barber Examiners Board meeting. And we have, let me do quorum because that'll help us determine who's here and present, who is not, and also who are participating telephonically. Ms. Kelly Barger is not here with us. Mr. Jimmy Boyd, not here with us. Miss Anita Charlton?
Present.
Thank you.
Present.
Thank you. Participating telephonically. We appreciate it. Miss Nina Coppinger?
Here.
Mr. Frank Gambusa is not here with us today. Mr. Ron Gillahan?
Here.
Also telephonically. Thank you so much. Miss Brenda Graham?
Here.
Miss Whitebeck Granger?
Here.
Miss Judy McAllister also could not be here today. Miss Patricia Richmond?
Present.
Thank you. Miss Becky Russell?
Here.
Miss Mona Sappenfield?
Here.
And Miss Amy Tanksley?
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum, and Mr. Gillahan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Roxana. Good morning to everybody. We appreciate all you folks coming out today and participating in the meeting. We always begin, we call the meeting to order. We like to begin to acknowledge our guests and the folks who are in the audience with us. Are there any schools that are represented here today?
We have a full house, so yes, give us a minute.
Okay. If we could, we'll have one person from each school just stand up and identify yourself and tell us what school you're with.
That is all, but full house and a beautiful group of students.
Okay.
Next, this is Sherelle Hooper, Assistant General Counsel speaking. Next, we'll have our Statement of Necessity. According to Tennessee Code Annotated, Title 8, Chapter 44, Section 108, Section B2, if a physical quorum is not present at the location of a meeting of a governing body, the governing body must file such determination of necessity, including the recitation of the facts and circumstances on which it was based, with the Office of Secretary of State no later than 2 working days after the meeting. Furthermore, TCA Title 8, Chapter 44, Section 108A3 defines necessity as matters to be considered by the governing body at that meeting, require timely action by the body, that physical presence by a quorum of the members is not practical within the period of time requiring action, and that participation by a quorum of the members by electronic or other means of communication is necessary. This is the regularly scheduled meeting for the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners, and the purpose of today's meeting with all members attending by teleconference is to discuss the agenda as noticed on the website earlier. And as we noted, with the roll call, there are two members attending by phone, and this is how we are meeting our quorum today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherelle. Next order of business would be to approve the minutes for the meeting of May 7, 2018. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions? Seeing none, hearing none, we need a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the the minutes for the 2018 May 7th meeting. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Ms. Roxana, I believe we have some folks that need to appear before the board.
We do. Thank you, sir. And again, thank you both so much for participating telephonically. We will start with our appearing before the board. You have on your iPads a new school application. This is Global Beauty and Barber Institute, a new cosmetology school. If you give me just a minute.
Sure.
When they're ready for the presentation. You have here appearing before you Mr. Elvin Mejia and Ms. Sierra Gordon. They are appearing for a new school, a new cosmetology school. This school is located in White House, and it is 4,200 square feet. The business license, curriculum, contingency plan, floor plan, application, and fee were all received timely. This school also intends to do an online piece of education for the instructor hours. The system will be demonstrated so that the board, if they have any questions, can ask, can look at everything on the system. They are also offering a student loan agreement. So you have on your iPads toward the end, after the contingency plan, is the student agreement that was originally received in the office. We asked for a more detailed plan that included more information on the loan, as this was something definitely new to me. So we have that in paper handed to you to review. I'll give everybody a chance to look at that and ask questions about the paperwork and application if you want, and then we can look at the presentation for the online piece.
Thank you, and thank you folks for being here today. We appreciate you coming up to the board. We'll give the members just a couple of minutes to look over your material, and then we'll begin asking questions if we have any. Do we have any questions at this time? We still need some more time to look.
I'm still looking at it for just a second. Is this a third party you're going through for the financing, or are y'all doing that yourself?
We're doing it ourselves.
With your loan agreements here, is that a true type of a loan, or is that more of a payment plan?
It's more a payment plan, and what we intend to do for the first year, not to charge any interest for students so they can be able to afford it.
And when does the 12% interest kick in? After the first year?
After the first year, yes.
one thing I noticed, and I see you did have a schedule in there where you can list fees and payment amounts and things like that, but I didn't see anywhere located in the package that told what the complete total cost of the program is. Is that something you could add into your form, possibly?
Yes, sir.
I would direct you all's attention to the loan agreement. One of the questions that we had about the agreement was the particular terms of the agreement, simply because we haven't seen this particular arrangement before. And after some research, it does appear that in order to charge an interest rate above what is the formula rate at this time, there would be a registration that's required by the Department of Financial Institutions. And so it would be a separate registration that would allow this type of consumer lending because the interest rate is above the formula rate, which at this time is 8.75%. I know Mr. Mejia just stated that they don't intend to issue any within the next year. However, both agreements that we have currently have that in there. So as far as what we have on the record, we have two agreements that both indicate there will be lending taking place. To the extent that they plan to delay that for another year, we would have to have a student enrollment agreement that has no information related to lending in it so that the board could have it on file as being compliant with the law. Of the
Thank you.
8.75.
Yes, that's correct.
This league, that's under different jurisdiction.
It is. And so, in other words, if they plan to delay lending for a year, we would just need a revised enrollment agreement that reflects what they actually plan to do today as far as being approved.
In order for us to approve this, they have to get it registered with someone else. That's what you're saying.
Well, I think the statements today as far as lending being delayed for a year indicates that it's something they plan to do in the future. I think if they want to go ahead and get the board's pre-approval to do that, they could go ahead and submit a copy of their registration with the Tennessee Department of Financial Institutions. But if they wanted to just proceed as a school that does not offer lending, we would just need a revised agreement for the board to consider.
So we could approve it pending updated documents?
Yes, pending updated documents, because right now we've received a copy of two contracts, and both of them have documentation related to lending in there. One is more detailed, but both of them have lending information in their student agreement. So technically, neither would be legally compliant unless they were revised.
I have a question just for clarity. So this is a loan agreement, is that correct? Okay. So, and then you mentioned that it's somewhat like a payment plan too. So are they paying this investment fee to start school, or do you like pay it for them and then they pay you back? Like, can you clear that up for me a little bit?
Right. What they do is they make a payment plan. They actually put a down payment to start for books and kit, and then we work for them based on their how much they make. It could be $300 to $200 a month. So it's all based on what they make and the salary.
But
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Are you aware, this is just for clarity too, are the other governing lending agency, would they require a deposit like a bond for like a surety bond on lending? It gets kind of tricky when you start lending money. we know from client resources using third party that
We actually received this lending agreement Friday, and so we've not been able to do as much research as we would like. But it appears that if you're charging interest above the formula rate, a registration is required with the Department of Financial Institutions, and it appears that part of that registration process is a bond. So I think that would be part of the process, depending upon what the interest rate is for the lending.
Right. I even tried to do that before, and students they don't like paying so high interest, and that make them not to sign up. So we decided not to go with anybody else, but just to be in house to be able to help them make some payment without interest. That's how I've been doing it for a long time until we get the school accredited by NACAS. Students cannot afford, go to school. A lot of they self-pay. So basically, that's how we try to do something different. If not, we can make some changes, some adjustments.
You also mentioned something about not being in compliance. Can you explain that one more time, Cheryl?
Essentially, if they plan to delay lending for a year and they're not going to be offering lending at all, the board would just need a revised lending agreement to show that they are compliant with the law, they're not lending, and then I think that would clear the board if it wished to approve this application pending that all other items are met. At this time, though, both agreements that we have indicate that they're student lending. One is more detailed than the other, and at this time, because their interest rate is above the formula rate, we would need to see a registration with the other State Department of Financial Institutions in order for you all to approve something that is legally compliant, which would be their lending. So, in other words, if they are not lending at this time, my recommendation would be that they submit a revised agreement indicating with no information related to lending, that they're not lending at this time. And if they are seeking approval to do the lending whenever they so choose, we would need either an agreement that complies with the law or a copy of their registration with the Department of Financial Institutions.
If I could ask a quick question. You said that you've been doing this for a long time. Walk me through that, because we don't have any schools right now that are approved to offer something like this.
Well, to offer financial aid, I mean, what we're trying to do is trying to connect with some other companies that can charge a less interest, and we can actually, see if we can get credit, not just NACAS, but some other loan. Because students are really want to sign up and they can't afford it. So we're trying to get some other help besides financial aid.
Do you all just guide students to other
yes, we do.
Loans?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I know we do some in-school financing for our students, but we charge no interest. They just pay straight to the principal. That way they're not out any more money.
That's what we see in schools. The interest rate is something I've not seen.
After a year, most programs are done after a year. So if they're done within the year of a program scope or a course scope, there wouldn't be any extra to pay at all. The goal would be for them to be able to finish school and finish school timely. That is the goal that's kind of wrapped around the whole thing. Understanding the point of the 8.75, the early, being willing to revise to fit within the law and the scope of. But the main trajectory was for students to be able to start school and finish timely and not add a 6-month program for a year or a year and a half or to that extent.
They take a leave of absence. Will that go against their first year, or will it roll them over
Not, it
to
will
extend?
pause.
Huh?
It will pause it
So it will
for up to
extend it.
180 days.
And I would say that now I think maybe I misunderstood Mr. Mejia's comments about not offering lending first. My interpretation was that meant not offering lending for the first year of the school's opening and maybe it becoming a practice of the school after 1 year. But it sounds like their proposal is to have students sign an agreement that there would be no interest the first year, and then after the first year it would kick in. So then that would require a revised agreement, including a revised interest rate or some type of registration from the Department of Financial Institutions indicating they were compliant. So I have to kind of backtrack a little bit because I didn't understand exactly what they meant by not charging interest for the first year.
So would y'all be willing to get that revised? Yeah.
I think as the agreement stands, it looks like day one they can sign up for the loan. So if that's not the intent, you want the agreement to not have it. And then maybe if they run out of money, then that's your option. If that's how I think you're wanting to present this.
We would just need all of it for the board's consideration to make sure that it is compliant.
If they do go into effect, they still have to do that where it's over the 8.25%.
Revise it back to the
8.25.
So do we want to revisit this for our next meeting or with updated documents or?
I think we do want to revisit it with updated documents so y'all can get that revised.
What are our other options, Sherelle?
Well, I think one thing that would be helpful since they're all set up is maybe you all could view the presentation today, and that way there wouldn't be as much to cover in August because that probably will be a much bigger meeting because there isn't a July meeting.
I appreciate that because we've been working so hard trying to get the school open. It's been a lot happening, and it's been very difficult running a school. As you guys know how hard it is. So we will appreciate you if you guys help us.
I would most definitely like to see the presentation today so we can move forward since you now know what to do with the contract. I think that would be appropriate.
Because there may be questions about that too, and that way everything could be addressed today as opposed to maybe if they came back in August and you all saw the presentation then, they might leave with additional action items. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay, if you're ready, why don't you go ahead and begin the presentation on the other portion?
Our online platform, and I'm going to go to the more so the administrative end. We have some markups in that would allow us to be able to kind of get an insight on what the actual course looks like.
For a quick second, Ms. Gordon, is this for your 300 hours instructor training only, or you'll? Okay,
It's for the 300 hour instructor training. I'm sorry.
Perfect. Thank you. Go right ahead.
So I'm going to log in now from a student view.
Excuse me, Roxana, I don't believe we can hear her.
No, she hasn't said anything yet. I think you're okay. I think we're navigating. I don't know if you, well, and you're both at a difficult situation as far as viewing us, but we're streaming live, so I think anyone that's watching it can see what's up ahead on the projector, but so far we're not quite in there. Oh, you can. Thank you.
So this is the student view. And I'm going to go to launch course. And you can already see he or she has already been in the course. The timer starts here on this side. It shows 7% accomplished as far as from 100% of the entire course. So the course itself is 300 hours for the instructor cosmetology program, what we call cosmetology related program, because it covers aesthetics, nails, cosmetology, as well as natural hair. So if I go down, they actually have an option to do student orientation as well. They get a sample of the catalog. They get a copy of the syllabus. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the syllabus because the syllabus shows great detail. Orientation week is, or orientation day is separate from all the other weeks. They have to do orientation in order to be able to even be able to access the other weeks prior. They have to go in order. I know one of the concerns before was being able to skip and maneuver around. They cannot skip. However, they can go back. Once they submit an assignment, it is submitted. They can go back to view the actual assignment, but they will not be able to submit again. They can only submit once. So if I scroll down, it pretty much gives an overview of what is in the course, what is expected in the course. It talks about the course being a 12-week course total. 25 hours a week is what they would have to get weekly. 8 weeks of that course would be by virtual assignment, distant learning, and the last 4 weeks would be on the ground. So that gives them 200 hours that they can do as far as online, and then it gives them 100 hours that they would do in person, hands-on, around students, being trained by a licensed instructor in person. It tells them everything they will need from internet. It breaks down what the prerequisites are, and the prerequisites, as we stated before, was for the orientation pieces. It goes over the catalog. It goes over do's and don'ts of school, everything they would need to know. It breaks down what they're going to learn week by week. So you have weeks 1 through 8, and then you have your externship weeks when they're on the ground, 9 through 12. It goes down even further and it talks about the course instructions, things they can expect, when assignments are due, if they're turned in after that point, what happens as far as if the instructor will accept. It's on a case-by-case basis. The weeks run Monday through Sunday, so they start on Monday. They have until Sunday to complete all assignments and all time for that week. And then on Monday, they have their assessment for the following week. And then they're able to start the new week. So this just continues to highlight, you'll see some things in red as far as deadline for assignments and things of that nature. The assignments are made and the lessons are made to where it is, to where they're going to reach 25 hours a week. There's no way if they're doing the assignments and doing them appropriately, they will not reach those 25 hours a week. It is more of a rigorous curriculum. So we really look at writing as well, because anytime you're going to be teaching Your writing has to be up to par because you're going to be grading other people's writings and things of that nature. Unfortunately, that's something that kind of lacks in the industry as far as those pieces. So we really want our instructors to be able to have those pieces for themselves and then be able to give those pieces to students as they teach after going through this program. We give examples of how to go to track changes in Word to where they can actually grade papers the same way that we grade their papers through this system. We give notes and examples of plagiarism when they're writing their papers on citations and referencing. We give them examples on how to reference if they don't know how. This breaks down the assessments, when they'll have them, what type of assessments they will have. They have general multiple choice traditional tests as well as other type of tests since they're coming out of the field from behind the chair and what we consider going in front of the chair. We want them to have different tools that they can offer to their students once they start teaching as well. This just continues to highlight the entire syllabus. It gives the do's and don'ts of PowerPoints. It gives grading rubrics that they can expect that we grade by, what we go by. It breaks down the tasks that we use, which is videos, discussion journals, assignments, and final assessments. And then it also breaks it down even further for each of those categories, how things are scored, what things are ranged on, different things that we're looking at. So them writing a research paper doesn't just entail them writing it. They have to be able to follow these guidelines in order to receive grading. It gives them the topics in which they are able to write on if it does cause for writing as well. Full syllabus. It gives helpful instructions on how to reach the educator, how to post a video if they have to post a video, how to message the educator, or how to email the educator as well. I wanted to stop here before I moved on to anything else and to see if anyone had any questions on the syllabus. So to the catalog, and this just pretty much gives them insight on everything they can expect, not only while they're doing the distance learning, when they actually come into the school, they know what to expect as well. This orientation walks through the catalog, and it is a timed orientation. It allows them to be able to sit in front of the computer. If you notice, when I go over each one of these, they're locked. However, if I hit outline, it'll pull up the outline, but it will not allow me to go forward or skip. However, once it leaves this particular slide that I'm on now, I can go back to that slide, but it won't allow me to skip past it. So during the orientation process, it breaks down the catalog in which they had access to the full catalog, which is here. They had an option to view that as well to prepare them for this setting. Within this, there are quizzes. There are 4 quizzes in this total during the actual orientation. There are 4 quizzes in this presentation itself, and then at the very end, there is a cumulative quiz that will go over to make sure that they paid attention to everything that was in the actual orientation of the catalog. So notice that this has already been marked as complete. As you see, there's a red stop sign there. It won't let me mark it as complete twice. The only thing is that even if it's marked complete and they have not submitted the quizzes that were in here, the quizzes automatically go to an email portal that hits everywhere. It hits the laptop, hits cell phone, hits watch, and they have to have those quizzes complete before we're able to mark their orientation as complete. So even though it's the first day, we give them a week to get this orientation done. Without the orientation, they cannot move on to actually start the class. If they miss the start of the class, then they have to wait until the next month to start. So we also added a mathematics portion. And the mathematics portion was important for us because, as we know in the schools, sometimes you run the front desk. Even when you get out of school, being able to keep up with your money, tax purposes, things of that nature. So we wanted to make sure that we added a math refresher. The math refresher is simply addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. There's also quizzes within the math refresher as well. And then there is a cumulative quiz at the very end of the refresher. And in this, there are videos that speak on math and why math is important. Every video, of course, has been cited because we talk about citing even with the instructors program. And I can let this play a little bit. It all depends on how much time you all have to kind of view and see a quiz and things of that nature. It's completely up to you.
Do you think we need to see a quiz, folks? Nina?
Hey, Ron. Maybe. How long will it take to view it?
It won't take long to get to it.
Okay. So what you presented to us before in the past was a 16-hour continuing ed course for instructors online, correct? And this is the 300-hour instructors training course.
School, yes.
School, online.
So I've presented this before as well. So I presented the school on a separate occasion, and then I presented the continuing education on a separate occasion. So when presenting this before, everything was fine. There was no problems. But with the continuing education piece, we all know what happened with that. We went back and we made sure and revised and made sure everything was on point. So when we present it today, it would be able to answer any questions or concerns, because I know we wanted to review this program the last time as well.
So you're wanting to get this approved so that you can teach this online course through this school?
Yes.
So is this school up and running right now?
Oh, that's what we're waiting on. Mm-hmm.
What's the application you had before you that, at least a minute ago, you said the curriculum piece, the agreement may not be perfect and we may have to bring it back?
I mean, I can pull it up online and it looks like I can apply, but I don't know how far.
Yeah, everything is set up. Our websites, all that stuff is good to go.
Let's see a quiz.
Sarah, I have a question for you. Whenever I'm looking at your application, it's titled Global Beauty and Barber Institute, but we're applying for a cosmetology school. Are you also trying to apply for a barber school as well here? Because if we're calling it a barber institute, that might be something on the enrollment, on the application we need to look at.
We're not applying for a barber school at this time. No, we are not. That barber portion is just part of the name. That may be something that we may decide to do later, but not at this time.
The Barber Institute, to me, seems like it might be a little bit misleading to folks. I don't know. It's just something that caught my eye. I don't know what Sherelle might think about that. There are a lot of schools that are, like me, we're a barber and styling, but that's not saying that we're a cosmetology school. I don't know.
Ron, this is Sherelle Hooper. I think there are some concerns that name could potentially be misleading and could potentially evoke issues with the Consumer Protection Act, since they're not offering barbering at this time.
Okay. Sherelle had another question for you. In this instructor program, this is only for the cosmetology instructor. Is that correct?
This school is seeking only a cosmetology school license right now. So depending how you all approve and all the questions get answered, then right now it would only be for the instructors who are in the cosmetology disciplines
Okay.
wanting to
Thank you.
continue. Yeah.
Thank you.
Would y'all be willing to change the name to make it just the cosmetology and leaving barbering off unless y'all apply for both? I think that would probably solve that problem, wouldn't it? Would that take care of that, Sherelle?
Well, my recommendation would be that if they are fine to change the name, that they have the liberty to change it, but they think it should be. They may not want it to just be Global Beauty Institute, and so I just want to clarify that they're at liberty to change it to any number of things, that the board isn't telling them what to change it to, only that the board takes the position that calling it a Barber Institute when it doesn't offer barbering is potentially misleading to the public.
So I can play this video. However, it will not let me skip if I do not play it. So do you all want me to play the video so you can see the quiz, or how do you want me to proceed? Because I know that was the main concern before, was being able to skip. And it's not going to allow me to skip. So I either have to sit through and play, or I can skip and go to something else in another category.
Can you stop it in the middle of it?
The video?
And then go.
I can stop it in the middle of it, but it won't allow me to skip through until it's done.
How long is the video again?
Oh, me, Miss Yvette, I don't have my glasses on. I think it's
Okay, 8 minutes,
8
54
minutes.
seconds.
So do we want to or no?
What's the pleasure of the board?
Are there any other videos further along that we could watch further down, like on teacher methodologies?
There's some in the
along?
lessons. There
Okay.
are.
How do you feel about waiting maybe till we're further along to watch
Something to do
something
with
later? And then if we
the
have to
instruction.
pause it, then we haven't missed the rest of it.
Okay.
That sound
Okay.
good?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so this gives them the full textbook in which the syllabus and the course and the curriculum was written from. So it gives them this right online to where they're able to read. If you notice that it has to be marked as complete as well. However, just marking it complete doesn't do any justification because the next lesson is based on the first chapter. So they will have to be able to read the actual book. They're able to read it from here because it is part of the lesson. So we didn't want them to have to go to another extreme or leave this tab or do any of that, because we wanted them to be able to do everything from here. They also have the workbook here, and then let me scroll down. And then we break them up in chapters as well. So instead of having the whole textbook, they have a chapter available to them for each section of the lesson that they are on. And then this is the very first lesson. So if you notice, the half moons are where they have completed or marked as completed, and the educator has not acknowledged them being complete yet. That's why the moons are not considered full, and that's why they don't have a check mark as these two here. So if I go to the industry discussion, and the industry is chapter 1 in the book, this is the questions that it asks, and then it gives an example here. And if I go here, and here's a video. So each video allows them to, they have to summarize it, and these are the 3 questions that they see with each video that is there. Remember, each video is pertaining to the educational standpoint of being a teacher. It's not a cosmetology program. It's not a nail program. It's about teaching and educating and becoming an educator. So it's built on a whole different scope. We're talking about coming from behind the chair and standing in front of the chair. If I go down here to assignment 1, this is what it's going to tell me. It's going to direct me back to the space that I needed to go to finish. So let's just say I have people who like to try to jump ahead and see what my next week is going to bring, what my next lessons are going to bring. This is week 2. And if you notice, assessment 1 is in week 2. It's not even in week 1. So they cannot get to the assessment until they complete everything above it. So if I click on the assessment, this is what it's going to show me, because I need to be able to go back and complete all the other things that I have not done yet. So even though that they're listed and they can see and kind of get an idea of what's next, what's to come, it's going to automatically do this until they go back and complete the assignments. Okay, so let's just say, well, they go in and type ABC 1, 2, 3 and hit submit. It's nothing that's going to happen because they can't be graded on that. They don't get the hours for that because clearly there was nothing done. So to be able to maneuver through, that can't happen. I believe this one may be a little longer. Let's see.
If you think backbiting takes place at your workplace,
Saying
Roxana,
that you can't skip through this?
Pardon me, Ron?
I'm sorry, just checking with you on how we're doing on our time.
We may need to pause it and ask questions. We've got 2 minutes into the 8.31 on the, almost 3 minutes on the video.
Okay.
Um,
Do our members have any questions on this part of it? And maybe we can move on a little bit.
With that, I'm good with that.
Okay.
think everyone's good with stopping here and have maybe other questions.
Okay.
Carry the red and move it on the video.
The end?
Wherever.
Okay.
Video can be skipped.
Like, yeah, you can go back and forth, but the
Okay.
thing is, it's not skipping the slide. The slide is set up on a timer. So even if the video's done, it won't let me come out of this slide that it's in. Does that make sense, what I'm saying, or no?
Time slide is what you're
It's a
saying.
time slide. And it's timed to last as long as the video lasts.
So even if you skip the video, you can't get out and go to the next one.
And if you just skipped it when there and wrote what you wanted to write, how would you check that?
Say that again? I'm
I mean,
sorry.
It says summarize the video, so everybody you could just write in what you needed to write in on your summaries and stuff.
Right. So as me as a student, if I'm watching this video, I'm going to be taking notes. Because at the end, I'm able to come down here and type in either while it's playing or I take notes and then I do it after it's done. It depends on the working style of the student. For me, I need to write and listen. I can't type and listen. That's just my style. If I'm talking to someone on the phone, I can't type and talk to you because I'm going to start typing what I'm saying to you, even though I'm supposed to be saying something different. So it just depends on the student.
So if you take your video to the very end and come on and type your notes. Go ahead. Then enter your notes. And what message does it get? Does it give the student if they think they're moving on?
So it won't let me.
It won't let you type any notes.
Mm-mm.
So you can't type as you go along, any notes.
Right. So I can type in like Word
Mhm.
and copy and paste. I can write, but it will not let me do that until this is done.
I'll let you do it to the 7 more minutes or whatever's up.
Yes, ma'am.
But you can come back in 7 minutes and write it in.
Yes, ma'am.
It's the first time we've had any online courses.
We currently have online curriculum for natural hairstyling in the school. We watched the practical exam be given. We watched all of it from beginning to end on that presentation, just about. It wasn't the whole 300 hours. But you all questioned how the exam was put together, how they would prepare their practical. So that school is approved to offer in-person natural hairstyling hours as well as online. And I think they still do most in person, but they've been doing the online as well, as long as they've got a physical presence. And students, if they're failing or having a problem with a chapter, they can go in person. That's how we approve that school. And right now, that's the only one. This curriculum, I believe the same or something similar, was approved for sheer perfection a year and a half, 2 years ago. It's my understanding that no instructors have gone through the program and it hasn't been used yet.
Is there anything in our rules or laws that would prevent this?
No, the rules, and both Patricia and Ron and Sherelle can correct us, are about the 300 hours. The breakdown that Ms. Gordon gave was 200 hours for the theory, if you will, calling it the virtual or online, and then 100 in person. The in-person have to be watching students, teaching, making sure that they're doing what they need to be on the floor, that kind of thing.
I just did a great deal of personal research on RN school, and just information, I've looked at several of these for online school for RN. Also, BSN, MSN. There's over 100 of them at least for RN, and they're accredited by ACN, CONE, NL, NAC. So there's quite a bit of financial and accreditation available. One thing I did note is that the online courses are much more expensive than attending the courses. And Southwest College in Memphis has one very similar to this. I did a just not an orientation, just a preview of one, and that is for an AAS, a degree in Associate of Applied Sciences. So there's a lot of these things. It's very progressive to see this come to the industry. But all of them do segment out the hands-on part of it, and you do have to do rotations in the medical components of this. But this is very, very similar to the one at Southwest in Memphis. Yeah, so that web development component is really emerging, I think, in a lot of other fields. That's just something I'm very familiar with more recently. I just thought I'd bring that to your attention. So,
thank you, Mona. Are there any other questions for her?
I am a little concerned about the testing after this course to get the instructor's license, the reference material that's used for the state board exam, and the ability to, are they getting the information through this course that they'll need to pass that exam? It's just I guess a question that I have, but I don't know enough about this course to know if that information transfers well between this and the reference used for our testing company.
To some extent, I can answer that. We've looked at the book and looked at what it would take for PSI. Right now, all of our exams for the individual disciplines as well as the instructors are cited in the two books. And that's over years of, data collection of questions that just don't happen overnight. So PSI did take a look at the book and found maybe, I'll underestimate it, maybe 70% is not in the book. I think it's more than that, but they had 3 people read the book and go through it. So now that doesn't mean that they would fail it necessarily. It's just the reference material isn't there for what our experts over the years, including board members and so forth, have determined to be important questions. Now we review those every 2 years, but the instructor exam, just like the others, was relatively updated in 2016.
Concerned, I don't want a student to go through this course and not be able to pass that exam at the end. I'm not saying that this shouldn't be done this way. I'm just, making that as a note, maybe an out loud mental note for myself.
Ms. Gordon, can you talk a little bit about the technological piece of this course? Because I know with the expertise 16-hour course, there are issues with skipping and et cetera. Can you talk a little bit about how this particular online course is different from the one offered by expertise technologically?
Sure, this is a completely different platform. It's not the same platform. As Miss Mona pointed out, it's more of on a collegiate level, more of a university. So we're not using the same platform that we use for the continuing education aspect. It has been tested, it has been proven that you're not able to skip through. The timer is at the top of the screen. We also are able to see from the administrative, meaning the instructor screen, how much the students have completed as far as work, as far as grades, as far as things of that nature as well. So this is a completely different platform.
And could you talk a little bit more about the testing that the program's gone through? Because you said it's been tested and proven.
Yes, so we've had sample people go in and test and submit, so we're able to see what happens. I've gone in as well and did the same thing. Before you today, it's been shown that you're not able to skip, and I keep emphasizing the skipping because I know that was a big thing before. The book itself was I don't know if the word approved is correct, was submitted to the board before, and the board reviewed it and said that we were able to use it. that they pretty much don't have a scope to tell the schools what books to use or for what programs to use them for. But that was the reason that we chose to book for this particular course, because it was a book that we had already gotten a go ahead on to be able to use in the manner in which we wanted to use it. Even if they come in on the ground, this is the book that will be used on the ground.
Are you referring to cosmetologists?
Cosmetology. The cosmetology related instructors course only.
Instructor. Okay.
Yeah, only
no,
instructor.
no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, only instructor.
Tell me who's grading the assignments.
It would be a licensed instructor. So the same licensed instructor that is grading the assignments online will be the same licensed instructor that they work with when they come in. So they will have a relationship and a rapport with that instructor. The only difference is they're no longer just dealing with the instructor virtually. They're dealing with the instructor in person.
Ms. Gordon, how well do you think this course prepares a student for the instructor's exam?
I think it prepares them exceptionally well. I've had off the record, a couple of people study from our book and actually go and take their tests when they had used other references and could not. So it depends on your students. There are several references used, even with law exams, realtor exams, things of that nature. People don't always just use the books that are listed as references on the bulletin. They pull books from everywhere to be able to prepare and to study.
Will they be able to track their hours as they go that they're putting
They will
in?
be able to track their hours, and then too, it'll just be the same monthly report that's due
Right.
to the board, just like any other report. The only difference is this is great for people who are working, who are not able to sit in the classroom all day, who are looking for more of a traditional learning, but still at a distance advantage. I can tell you for me right now, if I decided to go back to school for anything, it's going to have to be online. I don't personally have the time to go sit in a classroom at any rate. Can I spare 4 weeks? Absolutely. Could I spare 12? No, I could not.
When the time clock that we saw, is that a real-time time clock?
Yeah, that's a real-time time clock. So as I'm in here now, uh-oh. Wrong one. And so this is a thing. So even though the timer is going, if you notice, the progression of the 7% has not changed because I have not submitted any assignments. I haven't done anything. So the progression of the course at the top is for the assignment piece. It's for me actually being active in the course. Me sitting here talking to you all, the timer is going, but that means nothing if I have not completed my assignments. The way that it works is even if you are allowing the timer to go, the progression at the top and your submission of your assignment shows me if you have been active in the course. So those are two safeguards, if you will.
Well, I mean, I think this is interesting. It's very different than the 16-hour course, right? Because the 16-hour course is a legal requirement that instructors get 16 hours every 2 years. And the only requirement is the number of hours. The content is not defined. This is different in that the folks taking this course will ultimately have to pass two exams, correct? There's a theory and a practical. And so it behooves them, I would think, to actually learn the material in order to pass the test. Whereas with the training, there is no test, right? It's just an obligation, for lack of a better term. Hopefully some folks get some learning out of it, but there isn't a end of the period test or anything like that. So I think this is interesting. I think a lot of people would use it. I hope that they will. Does anybody want to try it, Roxana? I know in the past folks on our committee here, on our board, actually went through this themselves before they felt comfortable approving it. Is that something we could do in the meantime while they're getting their paperwork updated?
So I think absolutely.
I think so, and I think it would also be helpful because this isn't just the school that's being reviewed, it's an online curriculum within the school. I think it would be helpful to have them submit detailed information about how this course is going to be administered, so that the board has a record of the details that were discussed today as far as how the curriculum is going to be divided. My takeaway from this is that 200 hours are online and 100 hours person, what this particular online piece covers. I think it would be helpful if the board had a record on file of what this curriculum consists of in the event that issues arise, particularly how it's going to be administered, what is being used technologically. So I would recommend someone testing it and the submission of something in writing, just detailing this curriculum and how it's going to be implemented and administered to students.
I would recommend that Becky Russell go through it. She's, instructor and also very familiar with the PSI. We were on the committee together to write the questions, so you would know and maybe be able to give us more information on
a portion of it.
You have time to do that, Becky?
Yeah, I would really appreciate your take on it, really.
I think one of the issues with doing it is appreciation of their time. You'd actually have to do 300 hours, which I know you're not willing to do. So that's not going to
Unfortunately, I don't have
to
300
happen.
hours.
The other piece that we can keep in mind now, again, this is for instructors. So right now we have maybe 1,300 in the state. So it isn't, the 55,000 cosmetologists, 4,000 new ones that we get each year. It isn't that type of volume, but so it's easy if the board is comfortable and we, as Sherelle suggests, look at the breakdown of this online course to make sure you're approving this. As soon as Ms. Coppinger mentioned that they're ready and set up online, we kind of looked. So if there's already a student agreement, student catalog, the board needs all those. Most schools don't have all those things very extensively done. So if this is there, we will need it for the record so that we have everything when the school takes off. But on this piece, keep in mind that when instructors do finish at 300 hours, however many you get done, Ms. Russell, would be fantastic. But when the instructors pass and they take the exams, we have those statistics. I mean, that is really your clear indication at that point that the program works, is who's passing the first time, and hopefully everybody's passing both the first time. But, that's a hard exam.
That we set every year when we sit down and rewrite those
Correct.
questions.
We look at all of that.
That's the thing. But Ms. Gordon could help you probably with just the capsule of particular chapters that you could identify as criteria. Just.
So what would that entail? Do I need to send the full curriculum? Because we have that. That's not an issue. I guess I want to be clear on what that would entail so I can make sure that I get whatever's needed.
Give you the time component and the information that you would need to give us a really good report back.
You said that several have tested this already. So you've got several people that have done the 300 hours from beginning to end already.
Well, they haven't done the 300 hours, but they went in to make sure that the system works exactly as it should.
That's what Ms. Russell, if I'm understanding the board correctly, she wants to actually go in and look at part of the material and do it. Is there any way to do it midpoint? Or if you've got somebody that's already done it halfway is what I was saying.
I could give her the curriculum. The curriculum has everything that you're looking at except it's on paper, and she can go in and answer the questions and decide what she wants to answer, what she doesn't want to answer, the part that she wants to partake in, what she doesn't want to partake in, without the whole timing mechanism, without things being locked if she wanted to. I mean, that's an option if she's just wanting to see what the material itself is. I guess that's what I'm hearing, or no?
She should get the whole capsule, and then she could just go to do a couple of them or something and see what you think. 1 or 2 chapters or 3.
Okay.
I think just enroll me as a student from the very beginning, and maybe if I get through some of that material, at least I can tell you all, yes, this the timing's working. Yes, I have to take these quizzes. The quizzes are relevant, or whatever you all think. But
Sierra is Ron. Is it possible from a technology background on your side that maybe you could let her review some from the beginning, some from the middle, and some from the end? Technically, is it something that you could unlock for her and let her do different components, or Does that make any kind of sense to you? So she didn't have to do the whole 300 hours?
It does, but I have a little poise about that because the last time we unlocked and you all were able to get through, that was kind of looked at as not a good thing.
Right.
So I would rather it stay locked.
Okay.
So the last time they actually registered to take a course just like any other instructor. It wasn't because we unlocked them to let them navigate.
We unlocked them so they could navigate, so they wouldn't have to wait the periods like they're having to do right now. We unlocked them on the back end so they could get through them. So the same thing that Mr. Ron's asking me to do this time, that's what we did last time. That's the reason why they were able to go through. No, I can unlock. I prefer not to, but if you want me to, I definitely can. That means the timer won't work. That means there won't be no progress shown or anything of that nature because the course will be open at that point. So she wouldn't get the true experience.
Right. They're two different questions. I mean, one is a content review, and the other is a caveat to make sure that the time clock works. Right. So those are two different things. Right. So if we can verify the content is what we want the content to be and is accurate and that the clock works and so you can't do 300 hours in 20 minutes, I think we have a program.
And so the curriculum piece and then just enroll her as a student.
Just to clarify for the record, with the course offered by Expertise, the problems were discovered and the board received information about those problems well before the discussions began with Expertise staff. And so the problems were not a result of the course being unlocked, but they pre-existed, and maybe the course was unlocked subsequently when the board began discussing the problems, but those problems predated any changes to allow the board to test that particular course.
Sherelle, I think I would really feel better, of course, if we have the ability to come back and kind of audit this thing as we're going forward and make sure, as Becky's going to review a little bit, that maybe we can spot check in this or come back and revisit it from time to time to make sure it's actually still working. I just like to kind of reserve that for the board to be able to do.
I think Amy made a good point about the difference in the continuing ed and this instructor's course being offered online, because you do have to pass the 2 exams afterwards.
So for the next meeting, I do want to make sure, first of all, if there are any other questions, that we go through them all, that we know what it is that we are presenting so that they don't have certain things and not others. One of the things that we mentioned is the full breakdown of this curriculum. Does the board want to see the written version? Because when a school applies, we hear we're using Milady, we're using Pivot Point, and because we have the books, they're in my office, you all have them in your offices, we know what those chapters are, so we don't need them to hand them to us again. Is the board expecting to see then the breakdown of this as part of the application would be a question. Enrollment agreements, anything that they already have, you can also see then. That way you've got plenty of information out there, especially if they're already to take on students. I'm certain then they don't want to wait one more time, but those things we don't have on your iPads right now. We have a very basic application, and they're going to, they're ready to launch a lot. And if they've already got stuff out there for students to see, we need to see them. So whatever they're going to see. And then the agreement, obviously with the clear indication of what the financial piece is. If it doesn't include the loans, then that's spelled out. Anything else that I'm missing?
There's something off the record, though. Like when I took my continuing eds in 17 before it was not acceptable. Right. I sent an email to you and said that I hadn't gotten a copy, and you replied back you had. And then you sent me another reply, and it said, I did a little more research. Was it you that announced to the board that you completed the course in a very short amount of time? I am thinking that correctly. That is why you never received a certificate of completion. We were under the impression you would not get credit for that one due to not meeting the 16 hours. But I had done it before that was taken apart.
You know when you did it?
Yes, I do.
17. August
the 17th.
Right, because I remember I thought the report went back to June, if I'm not mistaken. And I thought that it was a time frame issue with you and Mr. Gillian as well. Am I mistaken?
I've never had any time frame issues.
I think Ms. Gordon is referring back to the audit that you both registered to try to take the continuing education course, and you were able to do it in less than the 16 hours. Is that correct?
Rebecca, that was
Right.
Becky and Ron that did that one.
Well, no, not the audit. I'm talking prior to.
It was approved prior to after them taking the test.
Okay, we'll look at it.
Okay.
We'll look at it. Make sure we're on the same page.
Okay. Now, what it would have mattered? I mean, if it's that hard to get a duplicate copy of what you've paid for, I mean.
Well, no, we sent certificates out for completion, and if it was cited by the board that it was not completed in the time frame that it was supposed to, then like many other candidates who completed in a short time frame wouldn't have gotten a certificate either. So that's what we're looking at.
I mean, at first it says it was emailed out to you.
Right, and that's what I said. I did a little bit more research and then recalled that short time frame, but it's no issue. I'll go back and look at it. It's no problem.
I just didn't know what, me bringing it up to the board, what I had to done with either, yes, I'll check on it or not.
Sure, I'll look into it.
One thing I will mention, it seems like you all have focused on the online instructor curriculum. I don't know that you've talked about the actual cosmetology piece that's going to be offered, and so I thought I would bring that up in case there are any questions about what would be what I understand to be the main function of this school.
Mr. Elvin, what books are you using for the programs?
We're using My Lady for the cosmetology. Yes.
I still have an issue with it being called Global Beauty and Barber Institute when there's nothing offered for barbering.
Well, our goal was to eventually get a license for barbering as well. So we kind of wanted to add the name so later on we could submit the application for barbering.
Legally to have to do the cosmetology, and then later when you get your approval for barber, if I'm right, Sherelle, then he could add the name barbering to the course once he's approved for that.
And they can. The only thing I will add is schools are a little bit different because our goal is always to protect the students, right? And we look at schools, obviously, there are 100 schools versus 11,000 shops. But flipping to shops use the other word all the time. I don't think now the barber pole is a different story. It has, a whole other implication. So we won't get into the barber pole. But the word barber or cosmetology in shops at least is used without any problem. We never stop the word. And so we do have many schools that are duly licensed, and they've added cosmetology or barber. We've got the word beauty within a barber school that also could be misleading. So I see the point of it could be misconstrued, especially with Barber Institute being together, but I don't know that we've ever really focused on the words used if the school is looking to get the barber school license later as well. But I think Mr. Mejia said he's willing to look at the name and change it. What he would have to do then when he applies for the barber school is change it again, and that implies changing a business license and a lot more information. So I just kind of wanted to put all that out there for us to think about.
Eric name. That covers all of it.
Okay. Do we have any other questions or comments at this time? Do we, Roxanne, are we looking for a motion to approve or deny this application today, or are we simply making a recommendation to represent?
I think we will need a motion to, and at this point with the pending documents that we've mentioned, still need to be presented.
Yeah, I make a motion to revisit it with the updated documents that needed to be in compliance with the law as far as this presentation.
Excuse me 1 second. Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I've been in Tennessee here for more than 20 years, and I've been helping the students for so many years. I have invested so much money to be able to get the school standard by the state law. I understand that it's been a lot of changes before Roxana came in. She has made an excellent job, but I believe the state board members should help us as a school there's another side that you guys don't know how hard it is to open a school and to be able to help students in all different levels. This program right here is going to be presented in New York, where I come from, and they're very excited to be able to get this program. And I understand that here there's always been a little issue here and there, but we really need some help. I really would like to get my cosmetology license for the school, not the barbering. I mean, we can make any changes that needs to be, because this place here in White House has been closed for such a while, and I've been paying rent, paying money, things that you guys don't have no idea. I have students already ready to start, and waiting for what, August is going to be very difficult. So this was going to make us lose, and I need your guys' support, honestly. I have Sheer Perfection Academy in Global Mall. We've been working so hard there to do everything by the rules and regulations. We never had any issue, any problem. So taking us to the next level, to the next months, it's going to be very difficult. So I would like for you guys to reconsider and think about this, because this is going to help us a lot to consist myself.
Let
to
me
be
ask
here.
this question. So legally, I don't think we can approve your application because of the financing language. Because what I'm hearing is that in order to have language in your application regarding financing at 12%, it requires certification from another entity that's not us. So I would
That can be
advise if
removed. I mean, we can go to the generic contract, just the way
right.
we
So I
have.
think the first step, right, is that if you send updated documents, either removing the language about financing or adjusting your finance rate to below what is regulated, what was it, 8.75?
8.75%.
Not what I know best, that we could approve that before August if that's submitted. I don't know, right, per the office.
I can't
I
even
don't.
do that right now. Once we finish, I could go and get my secretary to get the paperwork done, do whatever we have to do while you guys here, because it's been very difficult.
I understand. I get it. I'm a
Very-
business owner
very
too.
frustrating.
So let me propose this. We could approve your school to open with additional paperwork or updated paperwork that removes the financing piece. However, I don't think that this board will approve your online teaching curriculum until we have more information. And that's probably not going to be today or next week. So maybe could I propose that you update your paperwork, remove the online teaching curriculum in order to get open sooner, and then we could vote on the I mean, I'm a big fan of the online curriculum, but I think we all have some hesitancy because of what's happened in the past. So we all need to acknowledge we need to move past that and feel really good about that. And would by all means encourage you to come back in August after your school is open and approved. And we would feel good about the online piece, and we can approve that at our August meeting.
I just wanted to get the cosmetology instructor, the school open, because
And I think
have
if you pare this down to what we can approve pending updated paperwork today, we could do that sooner than August. Totally agree with you.
And regarding the name, isn't like this would be your third location, and your largest school is in a center that's called Global. So my thought is that might be your parent company, and you may adapt the name change more as a DBA, like a doing business as part of your business proposal, and that might really help others on the board that feel the barbering component might be in some way elusive to a student, or so.
Right. What's happening is that I'm Spanish, right? And I'm getting a lot of Spanish students, and I'm getting a lot of Vietnamese students too as well. And what we're doing is we're creating instructor to be Vietnamese so they can be able to help the Vietnamese community. I'm creating Spanish instructor as well so they can be able to help the Spanish community as well. So we're actually growing so many different levels. This is the reason why we're going global. There's so much going on that is going to help this industry in Tennessee. There's a lot of
I
good
certainly
things we want to
compliment you
present.
on that, because it's very difficult. For years we've sat here with language issues because we aren't quite there yet. So
Actually, this was one of my motivations to help the Vietnamese, because Roxana has said there's a lot of Vietnamese that are now passing, and we're actually moving forward to that. That's the reason why.
Excuse me, folks. I know we're having a good discussion here, and I appreciate that, but we have a motion on the floor. Roxana, I believe that was seconded. Was that correct?
No, we did not get
No,
a motion.
Did I get a second?
I will second
do,
it.
do we want to revise the motion, or do we want to have a second?
Okay, let's revise the motion because it's a little confusing there. I'm going with Amy with being able to send that revised paperwork in to Roxana to continue to open the school earlier, and we'll revisit the presentation for the online courses in August. That is the motion.
Okay, so let me restate that. The motion is to approve the cosmetology school on the conditions that the paperwork is updated as discussed and meet the satisfaction of the board, and to postpone the online portion until the August meeting. Is that correct?
Right. The school
That is
license
correct.
would be approved pending paperwork without the online component. So
Yes.
the in-school component for instructors would be approved as part of the curriculum, and we would then approve the online curriculum separately once we've gone through that process.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve under these conditions. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries.
Quick interruption, although this is wonderful, and we've gotten to an ending, I think, almost, but we need both field inspectors. We know that the field inspector is a must. We have been sending a board member. Is that the case here as well, that you want to send a board member as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is all approved pending. I received the paperwork that deals with the student agreement, and it's clear, and everything that is going to take place is listed on there. Sherelle will review it with me, and then we are taking off the component for the online, and we will send a field inspector and board member as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Roxanne, I just want to make one little comment here at the
Yes.
end of this. Now, if they're going to take out the component about the loan portion, I do have a little concern that that's going to be actually the practice, not just the paperwork.
It has to be, yes. I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. And just a quick note, we focused very much on the curriculum and the agreement. Did everybody get a chance to look at the floor plan? It looked fine to me. When this is the piece that I got last minute. Okay, then we are good.
Okay, great. Congratulations,
Congratulations.
Jordan. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you, Amy.
I do feel the need
Welcome,
to
good luck.
clarify. My understanding is with the lending, they have the option to submit revised paperwork with lending as long as it is compliant. It's a compliant interest rate. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move us along because I'm sorry. No, we're good. Because we've got two people I know are on the phone and wanting to wrap up. We are going to look at our applications to test. If you can, on your iPads on page 22, we have two applicants to test. This is Miss Jessica Collins and Mr. Brent Hagee. The applicants have felonies within the last 3 years and or are currently incarcerated. A request for examination has been provided to the board office. So before you are full disclosures of the felonies for each person as well as a recommendation letter. The board normally does a 2-year agreed order allowing individuals to have a probationary license for that time frame. I will let you review the documents and change those orders if you see fit.
Motion that we approve these two candidates to test, correct?
Pending an agreed order.
Pending the agreed order, yes.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. For reciprocity this time, we have two
You need to vote?
applicants.
Right.
Oh, yes.
We have a
I'm
motion and a
sorry.
second. It's okay. Ron, where are you?
Where's Ron?
Stop me, Ron.
Are you with us, Ron?
Are you with us, Ron? Amy, are you, Anita, are you there? Oh, he disconnected the phone. I'm going to call us again. Hold on.
This is Ron.
Thank you, Ron. We got you back. All right. Anita?
Yes, I'm
Oh,
present.
thank you. All right. We lost you all for a quick minute. We have a motion from Ms. Amy Tansley and a second from Mona Sappenfield approving the 2 felony applicants. I'll let you take over, Ron.
We have the motion and a second, did you say?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, next on your iPads is application for reciprocity. We have 2 applicants. The first one is a reciprocity application for a cosmetology license from California for Whitney Swartout. The State Board of California shared that they were doing investigations on several schools and had reason for concern over fraudulent hours. This information was presented to the board at the May 7th, 2018 board meeting. The board requested that all applicants for reciprocity, as well as those coming in to test, present transcripts to determine if they are coming from one of the schools in question. Ms. Swartout stated that she completed school in 2007, and the school she attended closed in 2010. California no longer has proof of that school's information. They retain him for, I don't believe, more than 5 years. She says she attended Jerry Lee Beauty College, which is not one of the schools in question. The certification shows us that she attended school, that she's had a license since 2017, 2007, with 1,600 hours and both examinations.
So this would normally pass through the reciprocity with no problem, aside from the transcript missing?
Right.
But this school is not on the watch list?
That's correct.
Then I make a motion that we approve her license.
Second.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Yes, we do.
We have a motion and a second to approve reciprocity. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is also an application for reciprocity of a cosmetology license from California for Guizhen Wan. The State Board of California shared that they were having an investigation done on several schools and had reason for concern over fraudulent hours. This information was presented to the board at the May 7, 2018 board meeting. The board requested that all applicants for reciprocity and to test present transcripts to determine if they are coming from one of these schools. Ms. Wang provided a transcript from her school, and that school is on the list of schools being considered and reviewed by California. The certification shows that initial licensure was in April of 2017, which is consistent with the time that they're having hours and problems with these. She completed, according to the certificate for the license, 600 hours by examination.
Do we put these on hold, or do we require her to test again? I mean, what are our options here?
So what we have done with the school that is currently, or a state that's in this situation, but it's only one school, not the, I think we're at 18 or more with California right now, one school in Georgia, and at the end of the meeting I was going to update us on, they are still conducting the investigation, or at least we haven't had an update. We are sending the applicants a letter saying that those hours right now are not accepted and will be reviewed later if the school, if the state board confirms that the school is okay.
And in the
And
investigation.
so we can call it a denial or not call it a denial. The letter says we can't accept your hours and approve you. And so I consider it a denial for now. We apply the money in the future. We open it up if it becomes okay, or they can prove anything else. We had one Texas applicant, if the board will remember, that went to school way back before investigations, was able to prove everything was right. So we didn't charge him again. We accepted everything. We can always do that. But right now, and at some point we can't even put it on hold. The system actually expires them after 6 months either way. So it's up to the board to decide how you want to handle California. With Georgia and that school, the board okayed denying those hours, and therefore that's the letter we're sending.
I make a motion that you send the letter denying the hours at this point.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to deny this application, or any other discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Does it come with more information, Roxana?
That is it.
It just
You mean
says
the
you've
transcript?
been denied?
Oh, no. It's a full letter.
Okay,
It says
that
the board at
says-
this time is under investigation. For California, we haven't done any yet, so we're going to draft it to say the State Board of California has advised us that the school you attended is being reviewed. And Sherelle will prove it to make sure that it makes sense.
Thank you.
That's what we did with Georgia.
Sorry, just denied with no
I
explanation in this.
No deal.
Seems a little hurtful.
I know. And online, so online, these applicants are considered applicants in process because in reality, we can still process them anytime that is corrected, if that helps.
Well, it may or may not be these students' faults, right, that the school was not doing things correctly.
That's a possibility. So,
That
They
motion
took their
carries.
hours. They took their money.
okay. Under our miscellaneous section, we have for your review, this is a request for an approval of a manicurist license for Chow Nok Fang. Miss Fang was licensed by Reciprocity in Texas from Texas in 2013. That license was revoked for failure to obtain licensure as the state requires it. Since then, she has attended a school in Middle Tennessee and has passed both exams. The practical exam was passed on April 8 of 2018. Ms. Fan has also changed her name. So at the end of this, I believe I've got the marriage decree as well. So she is requesting permission, her license.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. And next on your iPads, and it's the last thing I have, and we'll turn it over to legal counsel to review the complaints. You have the financial report, and through the end of April, we have a total of $243,281 left in the fiscal year so far. There's been a portion of the cost-backs already allocated, and each month we are running with various numbers, obviously depending on the number of renewals, but the 243 sounds about right. We had estimated to end in close to 300,000 with the fee increases at the end of the year. So we'll see if that's the case when we get closer.
Nice budgeting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So I will now turn it over to the legal committee. We had two board members here and Pam Spicer to review everything.
Good morning, everyone. Still morning. We did meet in committee this morning, and if anyone has any questions about the legal report, I'll be glad to answer those. There was some discussion, and the committee did approve on number 49. There's a significant reduction in the civil penalty, and that is due to the fact that I will simply be unable to litigate the other cases without this respondent's cooperation. So she is willing to surrender her license with a reduction in the civil penalty and an agreement to testify against the other individuals and other cases that I have pending. And that is really the only one that we had any significant discussion in committee. So if no one else has any other questions, I'd ask the board to approve the legal report.
Motion to approve.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And the last item that I have under new business, I will turn it over to our attorney, Sherelle Hooper, so she can update the board on the proposed rules.
Do we have more paperwork?
We're not going over rules
No
today,
paperwork.
but I wanted to let you know that the draft of the rules is being reviewed internally, and as soon as we are cleared, we will be presenting those to you, hopefully at the next meeting, to review and hopefully adopt the draft of the equipment revisions and the other rules associated with that set.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all I have, unless the board has anything, or Chairman Gillihan, unless you have something.
Are we truly done?
Yes, can you believe that? Is the next board meeting August the 6th?
Yes, the next board meeting is August the 6th, so we don't have one in July, and then we don't have one in September. So August may be a little bit more material than this, but this
All
went
you
well.
folks on vacation, come back.
We had a
Joy.
little of everything for this
I'm
meeting,
sure.
so I really appreciate you both being available telephonically, and I think we're done, Ron.
Okay, at this point, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Making that.
Ron, our thoughts are with y'all.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Congratulations. We're done for the day.
Thank you. Thank you both. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Driving into that sun.
These girls up there.
Coming and going.